Hey all! So I said I was gonna do a vlog about 2 weeks ago, and then pretty short soon after that we got guests and we went on a whole trip together. So I never actually got around to doing it. So that's why I'm doing it now. So hi, is that good? I think that's good. Um, so yeah, what I've been reading recently when I've got the time for it. I've been reading the Discworld novels by Terry Pratchett, and I actually got them from a lady in our church. I'm borrowing them from her. She's got this big box full of books, all Discworld books. It's not the complete series, so I am skipping like a couple of them, but it's really good. I'm a big fantasy fan, so I really like these books. What I think is also really cool is that they are all individual stories within the same world. So I like the style of writing and I like the world that it's set in. But this series actually has individual stories. So each book is set in the same world, but it's a different story. And so I really like that because it means I can immerse myself in an environment and in a style of writing that I enjoy uh, often and many times without feeling like I've heard it all before or like it's becoming a bit too much. You know what I mean? I have read. Which books have I read? I'm trying to read them in series order. So first, I read The Color of Magic. I felt that one was okay. It was a series of more like a series of events than a. It was still a story. It was kind of a journey with a series of events. Um, it felt to me, I've never played Dungeons and Dragons, but it felt like that's what it would feel like if you played a game with the gods up in heaven rolling the dice representing the players, and then the characters in the story, being the characters. It was good. It did end on a bit of a cliffhanger, and I don't have the second book. Um, but yeah, it wasn't my favorite. It was okay. Then the next one I read, I think, was Equal Rights, which was very fun. I liked the character of the granny, and I liked learning more about how magic worked. And so that was really cool. The ending was a bit mystical, which wasn't as much. I didn't enjoy that as much, but what I did enjoy was the relationship between the granny and this old guy who runs the Wizard Academy. So I thought that part was super fun. Then what's the next book I read? Okay, I had to remember real quick which were the books I read, so I didn't miss any. And I got okay, and I got a piece of bread with some cheese. So, oh, okay. Anyway, so the next book I read was Pyramids, which had a really interesting premise. In the book, pyramids are magical, and the people building the pyramids kind of go a bit overboard, and it ends up distorting space and time. I liked the king. The king's ghost was a fun element for me. What I liked less was how much nudity there was. There's this one character, and she's the king's handmaid, and her whole personality is kind of sorry, her whole personality is kind of being this innocent, vibrant, half naked girl, basically. And the thing is, I know these books are satire, so probably her character is a satire on the more serious fiction fantasy books that have female characters like these, right? And I think the first book also had a couple of different, like two instances of women who were um, described as being basically mostly naked. And then Pyramids also has a goddess that's basically naked. And um, like I said, I get that that's satire, but it doesn't mean I feel comfortable reading it. I still feel like, oh. And that's the problem. Kind of the problem with satire is that um, anything I don't like, if I criticize it, somebody can just say, well, yeah, but that's because it's satire. The author himself is just doing that to parody other works. You know what I mean? So it feels like you can't really criticize satirical works because of that. So yeah, so I recognize that those inclusions of all those female characters um, being kind of like sex objects is satire of the fantasy genre, but it doesn't make me enjoy the book as much. And I know the author can write female characters because in Equal Rights, the witch, the granny, is actually a real character. I think up till now, most books have had at least one hint to, sex or stuff like that, but some are more explicit with it. For example, in Equal Rights, it's a book about a young girl, it's a book about a child, so the hints are very, very, they're very hinty and not explicit at all, and never about her, whereas in books like these with adult characters, you can just do more. Um, I think my favorite book up till now was Guards, which is about guards in the big, ugly city of Ankh-Morpork. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly. And these guards basically, the Captain Vimes, I loved his character. He's a man who wants to do his job well, except he lives in a city where everything actually goes better for everyone if he does his job lazily and badly. So doing his job well would probably get him killed. And so in the beginning he just seems like, a typical loser drunk guy, but then when you continue, it turns out that no, he's actually quite ambitious and he's quite conscientious and he wants to do his job right, but he can't, and that's why he's turned into such a drunkard, and so, just doesn't really care anymore. And then throughout the book, he gets more excited again and he starts doing his job again, and I really loved seeing him doing all of the detective work. I really liked the villain, who was very fun seeing him manipulate people into doing what he wanted. I think this was my favorite book. And I think mainly because of the captain, because he was such a likable character, and I just loved seeing him getting his pep back, and then the last book I read was Moving Pictures. I don't know, this one wasn't quite up my alley, but I still enjoyed it. It's about a magic that causes the people to realize how to make movies, but then it turns out that this magic, in the Discworld series, there's what's real, and then there's something outside of reality, and there's creatures there who want to get into reality so they can wreak havoc. And this it's called Hollywood, actually makes it so the veil between reality and non-reality gets so thin that the creatures can come through. So that was pretty cool. I liked the animals mostly. I felt quite sad at the end, for Gaspod's ending. I know that technically speaking, he was happy, but I wanted more for him. But yeah, I think, like I said, up till now, Guards was my absolute favorite. I really enjoyed that one. And then I think the next one I'm going to be reading is Witches Abroad, which sounds very promising because it's about witches who have to keep a young peasant girl from marrying the prince, but I guess they're in kind of a fairy tale setting, so it's going to be really hard for them. So that's what I've been reading, and I'm going to go eat these pieces of cheese bread that I just made. Okay, see ya.